Greetings from Area 51 Raceway. It's been a while since I've done a video. Some real big news coming up. Area 51 Raceway will be expanding. I won't elaborate much into that, but it will be expanding quite a bit. My plans are to build a oval wood track, and that big impression that was left on me is when I left Home Racing World. I really loved the oval that Home Racing World had. It was just a lot of fun. And since I'm building so much scratch built, not that I don't like my plastic track, I want to be able to do something on an oval. Now, Area 51 Raceway will remain intact, but I will have kind of like a two track. So I do want to get a wood one for sure and make an oval to do a lot of the, race the cars that I build a lot, and I've been doing that quite a bit. But anyways, what I do want to cover is there was somebody that asked me, and I did answer him about making small headers for your scratch build cars, like when you have the motors. The current car that I'm building is just basically, it looks like a stock car, but it's got a blower motor, which is, who cares? It's a creation. I'm not making anything like historical or anything that I'm copying, like making a historic car. Now, if I was to make a historic car, obviously I didn't have a blower motor. But this particular car I'm doing, which is the Salt Shaker, it's just something to have fun with. And I want everybody to understand, you don't have to build something historical, or if you don't want to, you could just build something your own creation. That's the whole day of scratch building, is making your own stuff. If you make a movie car, cool, make a movie car just like, it was in the movie. But if you make your own creation, a different wild paint job like I've done with this car, and, making a blower motor, hell with it, man. Just go for it. You are, that's what makes the hobby unique. It's just like automotive stuff. I was in a car club. If everybody had the same thing, it'd be pretty boring. So that's why everybody does different things with their cars. Otherwise, it'd be a boring hobby. And that's how I feel about scratch building. If you could create something that's different than what it was, go for it. Who cares if it, the correct this, the correct that. I'm not looking for accuracy unless I'm building a car for accuracy in historical, context. But as far as just making something just to make it look cool, that's what I'm doing, because I like building cool stuff. It's fun. So anyways, on to the what I want to talk about is what I use to make headers. And let's go and check it out on here on the workbench, right? Come join us. So we're back at the bench, and what I'm going to show you what I'm using is, this is rosin core, actually just lead solder. This size is 3/32, and I don't know the gauge. I can't remember the gauge was. I did get this from AutoZone, and it's just solder they had there. And again, it's 3/32 in size, because what I do is I use a 3/32 drill bit, and I drill into the side of the motors. You can see they're all falling off because I haven't glued them. And I make my my holes in the side of the engine, and I'll show you in a moment, because I will take these out, show you what I do. So I basically drill right on the side of the motor here. Let me move the camera. See that right there. So, and get them as straight as you can, and just imagine where the collectors could come out of the cylinder head. And all I did in the street, drilled it out with 3/32 drill bit, and gently go in there and open it up. And then I get the solder, and I just insert it here and do that. And the reason why I use solder, and it's an old trick from somebody that taught me, when you get this all glued in, you can manipulate these if you need to, like tuck them in more or pull them out so that they fit with your chassis. If they they don't interfere with your chassis. So if they're starting to interfere with your chassis, you can move them around. That's the advantage of having the solder as tubes for headers. Now you can use the plastic ones as long as they don't interfere, that came with the motor, and that's fine. But I like the solder because you can move it around. It looks pretty cool. It looks pretty realistic, because the way it looks. And you could paint this as well. And as far as the collector, you could use shrink tubing to go over it and make a collector over this, and cut these to size if you need to, because these are pretty long. Or this may be a little bit too big, but I got these. This is kind of funny where these came from. If I mentioned that, looks kind of big, but this is actually the rolls. This is what's rolled onto dog poop bags. So that's kind of weird, but this made it a little bit too fat, so I may not use that after all. I may just use the shrink tubing and just shrink tube over this, which is fine. And then you make your bends how you would, you know, see how they would work on the car. As you can see down here, how I have made bends with these ones and make them work just like this. You know, do the bends and fit them in there and then pull them out and just get them to kind of look like they would headers in the car, just like that. And that's what I've done with this in particular. And when you look at it, it looks pretty cool. One thing I did do also, and it's kind of hard to see again because this camera ain't really a good close-up camera. It's good for moving around stuff. If you can see the valve covers, there are black lines in there. And what I have used to kind of make those lines, which they are painted, right here is the panel paint or panel line accent color paint from Tamiya. This is a solvent-based paint, and what you do is you just tap it and then it runs down the lines of what it's gonna fill, and it works really well. And there are videos out there of people doing this, static model builders. They do them on ships to give the panel line colors. What I've discovered also, it works good on cars, obviously, because you could see all the panel lines here, if you could see that, are all filled in with black. And I did this right here. It looks like a little bit. Actually, no, I didn't do that there, but you could, I don't know if you could see it on the door jamb right here all over how I've done that. And it looks pretty good because it gives the car the accent, you know, panel lines, highlights them. You can see the trunk, I did it also. I don't know if you can see there's black paint right in there. But all you're doing is get the brush and you're tapping it, and then it runs down. And you can tap it again and it runs down. Now if you have like if you have splotches, which is no big deal, you get a Q-tip and you use the Tamiya, which is the Tamiya clear thinner right here, and you dab it with a Q-tip. You just get a small amount of the Q-tip, if I could find one, right? And then you just dab a little bit on there, and all you do is this, and you just swipe and you get rid of the excess that's left there from you hitting it, and you remove it. And it's really easy to do, not real hard. So if you ever want to do like window lines and stuff, this stuff is really excellent. If you want to use black, they also make gray, which I got the set gray in all of the colors. Now you can see what I did with the 38 also. I used this also on there because it was too bright white. So what I did was I used the accent panel and kind of made a little bit more grayer because I thought it was just too white. And then that's why you have those down there, a little bit of paint like that. But it didn't get on the body, it was just on the decal. So there's a lot of little things you could do to add to it. And as you can see also, I did it on the top here, on the top part here. You can see how this is filled in, and you know how it works really well when you just tap it in there. It runs into the lines. It does a real cool job, and really nice. And it gives the little accent on the body. So if you want to accent the panel lines, you know, you can see right there it's black. It's black around here, so it works out real well. And I'm going to continue to use that on my future models, but it's better to see it visually in person than maybe on the camera, but it works out pretty good. So just going back to the headers, you know, that's just pretty much it. 3/32 engage, I don't know what that is. You guys could probably figure it out. I'm sorry I don't have the answer to that, but this way of doing it works pretty well. And again, like I said, once you glue them in there, you can manipulate these pipes if they get in the way. So it's not like you're stuck and you can't move them around with their plastic. That's the advantage of having the solder. So, but anyways, I hope you enjoyed this little small segment on small little things I do. I learned these from everybody, you know, different people. I'm not the one that knows all this stuff. There is one person, like I said, named Clay. I can't remember his last name, gosh, but I mentioned him before, Clay. He does the NASCAR model building, and he does really good work. And some of the stuff that I see, I take some of his, his tips and apply them to what I do. So, again, if you want to detail your engine, you could do it also as well with the accent, panel stuff, which I did on the bell housing here. I did it on the blower belt, which I still have to paint the blower belt. I did it here on the front of the blower, if you can see a little black there. And I just tapped it. I tried to do it on the side of the blower here, but it didn't really work that great, so I didn't do it. But on the valve covers, it works real well. If you just put it on the little fins here, it fills in the fins easily, and then the outside of it as well I did, and it came out pretty cool. So just a little, you know, pointers there if anybody is starting on scratch building and want to put a motor in and expose a motor and have detail to it. This stuff really works well, and using the solder as headers works well too for 1/25th scale. For 1/32nd scale, you go the smaller one. But anyways, that's it from Area 51 Racing. I hope you enjoyed the small video, and as always, take care and have fun racing.